We have, a lot, a lot to talk about, honestly, in that. We have in round two, we've got Respawn Direct and the Engineers going head to head. Now, these are the top two seeds in the tournament as well in this round robin. So I'm really, really excited to see what's going to happen. Respawn Direct coming in as the champions of the Cryo Cup. Engineers, however, has put on such a great showing, and they had a commanding lead, a commanding presence, commanding win in that first round as well against the Frisco Falcons. So will we see that same thing happen here? We saw a lot of the drafting come out, a lot of the bans come out targeting specific people. And I'm going to be here casting this by myself, this game by myself, as the tension will be back later on. And we're going to go right into it. However, we got some of the other matches to report on, if you will. Not only did we have connections falling to Matter Lions, but we also had the Frisco Falcons falling to the Engineers, and then we had the Jonathan Law Judgment falling to Respawn Direct in the first round. So who will come victorious? Who will be victorious in the second round? I have yet to see. However, I think it's going to be really great games across the board, and I can't wait, honestly, to see who is going to be victorious, because this is going to shape really who goes into the finals the second round. We have the first round. When you win, you get that confidence boost. You get that morale boost. You have something to carry on, something to push forward in. And, because we don't have that here, in some of these cases, both of these teams, however, that are going up in the second round have both won, right? Both won their first game. So how is that going to make a difference? Both of them are riding that high right now. Both of them thinking that they're unstoppable. So I'm really looking into, what that's going to be, what's that's going to look like coming into the second game. Do we have a screen share yet? All right, we got our screen share, so I'm going to be looking at the lobby coming in. I believe that we have the lobby all put together already. Respawn Direct is in, the Engineers are in, and we have Draft Flow pulled up. So we're going to get into draft momentarily. And honestly, I would like to hear from the chat as well. What are some of the things that you've seen or have stuck out to you already just within the first game? We had people, rooting for one team or another, calling out some of the champions that were being picked as well, talking about Braum and Aphelios, talking about Samir, the Mordekaiser, really. So I would really like to see what your I guess initial input is as well, especially from those of you who don't really know the game very well. What are some of the things that you would like explained better? Also, it's really easy to talk about this on the side of someone who coaches the game basically on a daily basis, or is involved with the kids on a daily basis in what they are doing. But when it comes from the standpoint of someone who doesn't know the game, and it's not necessarily self-explanatory all the time, not really information that you would be intuitive, if you will. So I'd really like to know some of the questions that you guys have also as an audience. Those of you who are supporting your friends or supporting your student, if you're the parent or maybe the administrator from the school, we really love to know your feedback as well on how we can help storytell and narrate this for you, so you have a better idea of what's going on. It bounces around a lot. There's a lot of information to process. And it's not always easy to follow everything that goes on the screen. So I'd love to help you guys out as well. It looks like we just about to jump into. No problem. So we're going to jump into draft. It looks like Respawn Direct and Engineers are in draft now. On the side of Respawn Direct, blue side, they have banned out Volley Bear and Evelyn. Engineers have started out with banning out two of the target picks. We have Evil Zelps, or Pop Smoke's Ghost, Nautilus, already banned out. That's for Jacob. And we have the Hui banned out on the side of Respawn Direct's support, who is normally a Hui player. However, Hui is banned out. Hui was picked last game, for instance, at support. So definitely a target ban there. We'll see what the third ban comes in at for the Respawn Direct side. It looks like they're contemplating taking a little bit more time to decide. Tryndamere ban comes in. Now, this is directed at Awesome Sauce Boy, I believe his name is, or Awesome Sauce Boy, not sure, from the Engineers. However, I don't know. He played jungle last game. So I don't know if he's actually going to be stuck in that top lane anymore, especially with two of his three picks being taken out. And the Azir ban on the side of the Engineers, really respecting that mid laner. Kilo coming in on the Respawn Direct side. J4 pick early on, however, we know that's coming in for the jungle. Donnie overtries the star jungler for Respawn Direct and has been for absolutely several years. In fact, very strong pick for Donnie. And wonder what that's going to be paired with. We see the Pantheon coming over on the side of the Engineers, taking that away from Kilo, taking that away from Flops as well on the bot side. Zoe coming in as the mid laner, perhaps on the Engineers side, but also could be flexed into the support. So we're really going to see if that is, but this is back to back games that we're seeing the Zoe pick coming in. And I wish Detention was here for that because this would be, giving him butterflies, fluttering his heart a little bit. He loves that pick. And it is, he is known as the best Zoe player in the world as well. So really coming in strong. And we have Neela and Sona coming in, locked in for that bot lane on the side of Respawn Direct. Really, really strong. However, we're also seeing what we had in that first game on the side of Matter Lions, where Neela is normally not a pick that you're picking earlier on. This is a pick that has a lot of different counters, has really, really short range, but does have the advantage of giving extra experience to the bot laners when you're killing minions off, right? When you're collecting that CS. So it's going to be really interesting to see if, Thanelia and Flops are going to be able to situate that, that duo there, the Neela and the Sona, in to a winning position without knowing who their lane opponents are going to be. Excuse me. I'm a little still under the weather right now, so bear with me as I have to mute my mic instead of harassing your ears with the coughing. But on the side of the Engineers, we see the Kiana coming out. That could be jungle, that could be mid lane. We see the Lilia ban on the side of Respawn Direct and the Syndra ban on the side of the Engineers. Now, respecting Kilo, again, that's two bans out for Respawn Direct's mid laner. And then we have the Malphite ban that is directly targeting their top laner, Pop Smoke's Ghost. So we have a lot of target bans here. And that is normally, and we give the kids, all of the students have ample time to scout the other opponents and see what they play and really understand why they would want to ban something out. And we're banning out of the Lux on the side of Respawn Direct. That is our final ban. So Kiana is going to be picked. Aatrox is going to be picked for that top lane. Aatrox is a absolute monster, really commanding presence, a lane bully in most sense of the word. We're going to see how Respawn Direct replies or responds to that, but it looks like we see everything besides the ADC picked for the side of the Engineers. Let's see how Respawn Direct replies to that. We have the Orianna coming in. Now, Orianna is a fantastic pick here. I really like this. It couples really, really well with the J4 that's already picked, Jarvan the Fourth, that is on Donnie. And Kilo and Overtries are really, really practiced with this duo pick as well. They synergize really, really well together. So we're going to see what this final pick is on the side of Respawn Direct. As they go in, it looks like Maokai is coming in. This is an interesting pick, but also really, really good in the way of just kind of neutralizing that lane with Aatrox, having a lot of sustain, a lot of the ability to get tanky instead. Really just neutralizing the lane, not allowing Aatrox to get that early lead, that early snowball. So we have the final pick coming in for the Engineers. 1 second left, and it looks like it's Trundle, which means that I believe that we're seeing a Zoe Pantheon bot lane here. I don't see this being anything else besides that. It is a really heavy hitting bot lane because both of them have CC in there. The Zoe has the sleepy bubble, as we saw last game. Pantheon has a point and click CC. CC, for those of you who don't know, it just means crowd control, means stopping the enemy movement in some way. So we have Pantheon Zoe bot lane. I believe as soon as we get into the game lobby, or the loading screen, we'll see that out. But I'm looking at both of these teams and seeing a lot of volatility. right? There's so much damage coming out on both sides of the aisle, the red and the blue here. We have Trundle coming in to kind of counteract a lot of that tankiness. We have a lot of damage coming out on the Aatrox and the Kiana and the Pantheon, even if that's support, right? It can build, shield interrupt with the Serpent's Fang. It has just constant damage coming out with the Q poke as well. So I'm really, really interested to see who's going to get the upper hand here. And we're going to be starting momentarily, but I'd like to. Do we have a vote here up on the stream? I would love to have a vote. If you guys voting for the red team or the blue team, just knowing the drafts, just seeing the drafts here, who you guys think is going to win this game, just based off of the draft alone. Unfortunately, not set up yet. We'll have that up for the next tournament. But type it in chat anyway. Do you think red team with the engineers, with Zoe, Pantheon, Kiana, Aatrox, and Trundle have the upper hand? Or do you think Respawn Direct with Jarvan the Fourth, Neela, Sona, Oriana, and Maokai have the upper hand? Really going to see how this plays out. It looks like the Aatrox is actually going jungle. Trundle is going to top lane. Zoe is going to be that bot lane that we saw earlier. Pantheon support. All right. So we pretty much called it as far as besides the Aatrox and the Trundle difference. And I think Trundle actually has the upper hand here in that top lane outside of the difference between Trundle and Aatrox going against Maokai. I actually think Trundle has the upper hand. As soon as he hits level 6, he absolutely melts through tanks. He takes a big percentage of their resistances, takes percentage of their health as well. So really going to see how that plays out. And, we see this mid lane also something, Kilo is very practiced on that Oriana, very practiced on control mages in general. However, it's not always easy playing into an assassin like Kiana. Kiana is very, very fast, very burst damage type of champion. And we're going to see a lot of that volatility, I think, earlier on instead of later on, where Kiana normally drops off a little bit later on in the game, unless she's super, super far ahead, where Oriana has that really, really strong mid to late game presence. And really great synergies as well with that Jarvan the Fourth. So as we get into this loading screen here, we see Pop Smokes Ghost on Maokai, overtries on Jarvan the Fourth, Kilo and Oriana, Thanalia on Neela, and flops on Sona. On the opposite side, on the engineers time, we have Awesome Saucy Boy on Trundle, Malzalify on Aatrox, Stuck Chungus Low on Kiana, Iora on Zoe, and Quail on Pantheon. Fantastic team comps on both sides. A lot of damage going on there. And really, really, I'm excited to see, even just what happens in the first couple of minutes. Similar to how I said in the game before, it could be a snowball heavy game with Kiana getting an early kill on that side and getting, let's say, a brutalizer coming in with the Cyclosword, or some time of extra lethality, right? That might just spell the difference between a win or a loss on that. So we're getting into the game. Level 1, we have a pause immediately coming out from the engineers, some type of technical issue. So we're going to have a minor delay. There was a PC crash. Someone is restarting their PC, so we'll see that momentarily. But I'd like to address chat, see if there's anything going. We have a couple of people rooting for the Respawn Direct team, a couple of supporters coming into the chat. We see you. Thank you so much for being here. And really, thank you everybody for being here and supporting the teams, regardless of who you're here to support. It really means a lot to the kids. As someone who is a gamer myself, but also who has been on the other side of the athletics. I was a personal trainer for a long period of time, and working with student athletes, working with people, it means a lot to their self-confidence and their self-worth when they get celebrated for something that they're interested in and something that they're good at. So being able to celebrate them for whatever they're doing and whatever they spend the time and put the time and energy into means a lot. So if your student or if your friend is really into video games, is really into athletics, is really into anything, whatever their hobby is, support them. Just shoot them and say like, hey, I see you, I acknowledge you, I appreciate you, I support you in whatever you choose to do, as long as it's something that is beneficial to their progress. I would say if there's something detrimental, maybe not egg them on in that way. But as that is being said, please make sure that we support our student athletes. If they're esports athletes, traditional athletes, whatever it is, give them a high five. Say, hey, good job on the game, whatever it may be, um, moving forward. Hmm. It looks like we are getting back into the game, so I'll have that up momentarily. And we're loading back in. As soon as this loads, I will give you all of the information that you need to know. So level one, we have a little bit of a CS lead on the side of Respawn Direct. It looks like with Neela coming in a little bit ahead. You're going to see that, however, with an ADC into a caster, right? ADC is always pushing, always auto attacking. Where casters are normally relying on their abilities, right, or ability damage to do a lot of that trading, a lot of that damage, and also to collect a lot of the CS. So we're going to see that early. Looks like Kilo has a commanding presence, pushing the Kiana into the tower as well. Stuck Chungus low, just has to maintain a little bit of that distance earlier on, not get chunked down, not lose a lot of the health earlier on, and has a big opportunity at that level 2, level 3 to go in and chunk that Orianna back out, which looks like it's not happening just yet. Looks like the Orianna still has the advantage here, chugging one of the potions as well. Kiana doesn't have any potions available left on her side either, but does have that Doran's Blade, which allows for a little bit of life steal. So bot lane seems just about even at this point, a little bit in terms of the push, as far as the push is going in the side of Respawn Direct. Looks like Kilo is really respecting that burst damage as well. And top lane is kind of just going back and forth. It looks like the reset came out from Awesome Saucy Boy. So Trundle does have an item advantage coming in with that longsword advantage. Does have a damage advantage. And we see more poke coming in on the side of Kilo. Looks like Respawn Direct is setting up for a potential gank. However, we see on the opposite side of the map, looking at the opposite of the map, Aatrox is in that top side trying to get Awesome Saucy Boy, who is their star player right now, an early lead. However, it is seen by the sapling on Maokai's side, so Maokai does get to get that reset in. It looks like bot lane scuttle is taken by Overtries, trading off with the top lane scuttle with Malzifify. I am not going to be able to say that name. I'm just going to say Aatrox. That's easy enough for me to say. Aatrox takes the top lane scuttle. Really easy handshake there as far as where each team is kind of spending their resources, right? So we see an additional push in through the bot side on Sona and Neela's side, really able to crash that wave well. And we see pings coming out on the side of the engineers top side, just showing where a lot of the vision is. So you have these little totems, you'll see them by the names of each person on the bottom side of the screen with a little summary. You'll see the little yellow totems and the red totems there. These are vision wards, vision totems that they can put out that basically enable you to see in an area of space, and enables you to see if anybody is coming in and ganking you, or ganking is giving you a numbers advantage. So we see a lot of that vision coming in. Still the commanding presence by Kilo, however, poking out that mid lane, really doing a good job of controlling that wave. 16 CS up early. However, it's completely countered by the top laner with Pop Smokes goes down about 22 as well on the other side of the map. So, or on the top side of the map, sorry. So we're really seeing a lot of the first structure of the game play out, where much more of the resources for engineers are put into the top side. A lot more of the resources for the Respawn Direct are coming in for the bot side. Will we see that continue? Not quite sure yet. We see, Overtry is really looking to see if Kiana is going to go in on that mid lane. Stuck Chungus low, however, is doing a good job kind of conserving his health as well on Kiana, making sure that he's not taking too much poke and still able to collect some of the CS as he goes in. Looks like Trundle has ultimate, however. Maokai just barely getting out with his life. Looks like he is going to leave at very low health. And Trundle really getting the advantage here, being able to push up even more. That means Trundle is now over double the CS of the Maokai. And just the CS, but now we have the tower plates coming down as well. An extra additional 120 gold going to the side of the engineers in the form of Saucy Boy on Trundle. Looks like Aatrox is going to be clearing that vision. That was really nicely put out by Respawn Direct early on. Second scuttle coming in, but knowing that they're on that scuttle gives Respawn Direct the ability to take that first objective, which is that dragon. So solo taking by overtries. However, we see Maokai getting potentially collapsed on in that top side, knowing that there's no jungler on that side of the map, right? So it looks like there's a little bit more volatility bot side, but bot lane on Respawn Direct is coming up to help with the dragon. Aatrox now is taking this opportunity, however, to counter jungle. Now this is going into the enemy jungle. The smite comes in. Pop Smoke's Ghost is still stuck on him. It looks like Orianna is also pulling up. Pop Smoke's Ghost, Maokai ult comes in. Is he going to be able to push him back in? Orianna is able to ult. Orianna flash comes out on the Aatrox. Is he able to get down? No, he's not able to get in. Aatrox flashes out, ults out. However, the Orianna ult is down. The Maokai ult is down. A lot of resources coming out on the side of Respawn Direct. Is that going to spell disaster? It looks like Respawn Direct is still able to fight this. However, Kiana going in by himself. The J4 comes in. Is Kiana going to go down? There's a flash to be had. There's a flash out. The flash comes into the J4. One more auto attack is so close to dead. And the death comes down. However, that is also a flash by the support coming in. But Pantheon comes in a little too late. J4 still going in. The ultimate coming in. Is this going to be another kill for Respawn Direct? It looks like it might be, and he's taken down. Maokai grabs the kill. Now it is a 3v1 situation. However, Aatrox is back in. Oh my goodness, so much action. Is Pop Smoke's Ghost going to be able to get out? It does not look like it here. It looks like Pop Smoke's Ghost is going to go down. Awesome Boy picking up a kill. Awesome Saucy Boy picking up a kill on the side of the engineers. It is very close. Both teams coming up with 2 takedowns in that fight, right? In that sequence. So really, really great. Collapsed by the side of Respawn Direct. However, equally as great with the collapse of the engineers and the bringing up of that support as well. It looks like Sona might be in a little bit of trouble here. The exhaust comes down. The ultimate comes down from Sona. Excuse me. The ultimate comes in from Neela. Neela picks up a kill. Zoe goes down. Is Pantheon also going to go down? Neela might have one more kill in her. And it also goes down. So Sona picks up the kill on the second kill. Bot lane for Respawn Direct is now accelerated significantly in front of the engineers. What a show right now. This is the David and Goliath that we were talking about before. Engineers coming in as the top seed of the tournament. We're not counting them out, of course. There's a lot of league to go. There's a lot of this instance to go where we haven't even seen anything yet. However, with that early lead, gives them the additional agency on the map, right? Gives them the ability to maybe take Sona and roam into the mid lane or go with the jungler. We're going to see how that plays out. But we have 2 assists on Kilo here. No real advantage on the mid laner for the engineer. And Kiana easily closing or clearing that minion wave. However, with that early Tiamat, gives her that wave clear that she desperately needs to be able to counteract Orianna's push. It looks like another pause coming in from the engineers. It looks like the game is needing to restart yet again. So we're going to hold on for that. We got a couple of minutes in the middle. Okay, no problem. I'm back on camera. Welcome back, guys. This is an exciting game so far. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of volatility, like we said in the beginning, like we said in the draft when I was going over each one of the drafts. There's a lot of volatility, and you're seeing it here. You're seeing the early aggression from Awesome Saucy Boy on the Trundle in that counter matchup, right? He's over double, almost getting into triple CS numbers for what looks like. I'm so excited that I unplugged my own mic. But you're getting into triple the CS numbers that Maokai has on the other side. It's kind of bound to happen as far as this is a counter matchup for the Maokai. Unfortunately, Trundle just does that into tanks. We're also seeing the advantage on the engineer's side with the Aatrox. I think it was just that re-engaging Respawn Direct stayed a little bit too long on that fight in the top side, even though they got the kill on Pantheon, even though they got the kill before. They stayed a little bit too long, overstayed their welcome, got a little greedy, and it paid off for the side of the engineers. So they were able to pick up some additional kills on the way out, or an additional kill on the way out, but that also meant additional pressure going into that top lane. So we're going to see what that means moving forward, or we have overtries going into that bot side of the map. Looks like the extra flash that Zoe had is taken off of the menu. No more extra flash. However, this is something that he is sitting on a ward right now. Overtries doesn't know that there is a ward there, like we were talking about before, all of the different options. Kilo, however, went down in that mid lane, which is really, really unfortunate because this is accelerating the Kiana, and it looks like Neela taking down one more. Is Thanilia going to be able to get a double kill here? I don't know. It looks like that Aatrox might just be a tad too large to be able to do this. Those knockups are just really a problem. Just as this cough is. But really not able to get anything done. And Aatrox is just so big right now at 3-0. Really not able to be able to do anything. Overtries needs to get out of there. Just barely escaping with his...
Yeah, and I'll hop in here. This is Jared to give some help on the cast here, just to get Teo to have some time to deal with this illness. But I think this game is in a pretty even state. I think there's a lot of scaling going on the side of Respawn Direct. Having a Sona and a Neela and an Orianna really gets to set up a pretty big team fight, let alone with the engage of both a Jarvan and a Maokai. As we see an incredible solo kill by the Kiana in the mid lane. Quite the kill coming through. I think, that's really how these matchups are kind of going to go. We see a little bit more of an early game presence from the side of BTHS with, the Aatrox and the Kiana and the Pantheon and the Trundle, but it's seemingly a little bit more difficult, for Respawn to get through this early game here.
Yeah, and really with how big that Aatrox is, look at the items just coming out with the Aatrox. The first item, Hubris, right? What a massive spike to the damage earlier on. And getting those new boots as well, being able to have that Omni Vamp in there, just means they're going to be able to put so much additional presence. The flash comes in on the Pantheon, the great E coming out on the Neela, however, I think Sona might get out. However, it is the flash coming in on the Aatrox. Aatrox is so fed right now. Neela is not able to get out of there. Sleep comes down on the Zoe. Aatrox picking up yet another kill. 4-0 now on that Aatrox. This is absolutely massive on the side of the engineers. A really tough blow if you're Respawn Direct to be able to get in there.
Keeping going.
It looks like a flash
getting the
comes
flash.
In. Great flash on the side of Overtries, however, understanding and respecting the size that Aatrox is right now at 4-0. But this also translates to a first dragon pickup for the side of the engineers.
Yeah,
so
Respawn Direct is definitely going to be needing to break up the pace a little bit with this. I think they're getting a little bit behind in the game and it's slipping out of their control. I think they were doing some really good stuff early, especially with the the fight in the top side of the jungle, but now it's getting to the point where they're going to need to work some magic to get back into the game.
Yeah, and it's looking for a... Okay, so Trundle is stuck in there. Trundle is stuck in there. However, it's not... There we go. A good shutdown here on the side of Overtries. However, unfortunately, Pop Smoke's Ghost goes down as well. So, there is a slight adjustment in the amount of gold because of that shutdown. However, Pop Smoke's Ghost, the Maokai, not really able to get back into the game. He's still down by over 2 times the CS. Trundle is up 125 CS to 67 right now. That is a huge advantage, right? A huge advantage that the engineers have. And if we go into just the statistics, like if we can press X on the screen, we'll see that gold differential as well coming in, where you see 5,600 total gold going to the side of, the engineers on the top lane, where only 3,900 gold coming in on the side of Respawn Direct. So huge difference in the amount of gold. However, Niklos goes in. What a flash! Huge damage. The Pantheon goes down. Mila is still going in. However, the sleep comes out. Doesn't look like there's going to be a double kill. However, Zoe has to escape with her life. Flash also used, as well as the exhaust coming down. So not able to move forward anymore. Great pickup by Thanalia there.
Yeah, that was a really good response. And, I think across the map, we're seeing things move around. The game's getting a little bit back to even. Honestly, that kill in the top lane was a really big deal. Getting that shutdown gold and kind of getting the wave state back to even for top was a huge deal. But here in mid, it looks like, oh, Kiana gets another.
Flash Q comes down.
Yep.
The Pantheon ult also comes in.
With his response maybe?
Yeah, Pantheon is there just to help out, just in case that jungle comes in. So Overtry is not able to, to pick up that extra kill on the Kiana after the flash kill. So Kiana is going a little bit more accelerated, as we were talking about before. When Kiana gets ahead, when Kiana gets that first coming into the second item, it is I would say, the danger zone going into it as the mage. You're not able to step up anymore. And as we see on Kilo's first item coming out on Luden's Echo, Luden's Companion, whatever it's called these days, right? That's it's kind of a scary item to have into an assassin, right?
It
Because
is.
yes, you have the damage, yes, you have the wave clear, but you have no sustainability. And with Aatrox as fed as he is, right? I don't know if that's the call. I don't know if that's the itemization that you want to go for to keep yourself in the game.
I think, there's always the argument between building damage when you're behind and building survivability. And I think at least for the first item, making sure you get to your core is important. But I would love to see, Azanya's Hourglass out from the Orianna here from Kilo as a response. Because it's, really helpful against both the Kiana, Aatrox, Trundle, and all that. But it looks like they're going in on the Trundle here. But I kind of think it might be favored towards the Trundle.
Yeah, I think that Trundle can easily 2v1 right now, especially taking all the resistances from Maokai. I don't think that is the fight that Overtries wants to take here. And it looks like but the third person comes in. And it looks like the kill goes down to Kilo. Kilo is picking up his first takedown of the game, and he also has a 20 CS lead on top of the Kiana. So even though he's a little bit behind, it's not too far down in terms of gold overall, right? Looks like the ward goes down, but Kiana still has basically full health, full mana, and ultimate available. I would not put it past us to see Stuck Chungus life right here just take the all-in, but they might be sitting on a decent amount of gold, so it looks like they're going to recall, go back to base, and pick up their next component or item.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting here to see where both teams start on the map here, because, we're in a little bit of a lull, right? There's no dragon coming up for a little bit. There's no Rift Herald yet, but we are getting a TP out in the mid lane from Orianna from Kilo. So it looks like they might be trying to do something with 3 on the bot side as well. And that seems to kind of be where Respawn Direct is finding a lot of the advantage to even out this game, is really kind of trying to pressure this Zoe Pantheon lane, because that's right now the strong point is the Sona and the Neela.
Yeah, and it looks like Neela might be chasing that Pantheon up as well. I think they're just giving a little bit too much time to that mid lane to push. Herald coming down here, mid lane goes down. However, the Maokai ult coming out, it looks like the ultimate and the entire team, this is the Avengers coming in. It looks like Kiana is going to go down. Kilo to get to the second pickup. Fantastic ultimate coming out on the side of Pop Smoke's
and a good TP.
Well. And the TP coming out to save that tower as well. Really, really great, especially right before that dragon comes out, right? So now Respawn Direct has the ability to potentially go back into this. However, are they caught out? Pantheon ult comes in. On the side of Respawn Direct, they use so many resources to be able to get that. However, another pickup for Kilo, picking up his third kill. This has completely changed the game right here. The Orianna finally able to get some type of ground, finally able to pick up that momentum and get those 3 kills in. Went from about 5,000 gold up to 6,500 in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, that was just an incredible flip. And looks like there's another fight happening now in the topside jungle. Oh, and the
Might
Sona
might
gets
have been
caught out.
might have been a
Oh,
little bit of
respawn
an
direct.
overplay. Might
Yeah,
have been
they
a little
didn't
bit of an
reset
overplay.
after all those kills.
And it definitely looks like Sonelia is able to get out because of the extra dash. However, this is not the case. I mean, I think they should have gone for the 3 dragon after that and not pushed their
Yes.
advantage in mid. However, you know what? Decisions were made. Decisions were made.
Can't take him back now. And that's another dragon over for BTHS, which is really important in this game because as it stands right now, there's really no clear team ahead. I think we're starting to see the Sona and the Oriana come online. So, it's really going to be a big turn of events once that, third and fourth dragon come up and there's a really big objective on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're still seeing, overtries at 3-0, right? And Finalia at 4. Oh, now 4-3. Was 4-2, but that Aatrox is just so massive, right? Sundered Sky coming in. Hubris at 30 stacks as well. The flash coming in, Kiana, the ignite. However, Sona goes down, flops, not able to sustain through that. Another kill, however, picked up by overtries here. Is he going to be able to get out? However, is the real question because that Aatrox is doing so much damage right now. However, Kilo also coming in, half healthing Aatrox earlier on. What we need to see here is a little bit of Grievous Wounds. I don't see anybody on the Respawn Direct team buying Grievous Wounds yet, and that's going to be a problem. We have Aatrox with an unlimited lifesteal, and as well as, Austin Saucy Boy on Trundle, able to get his entire health bar back by just ulting somebody.
Yeah. And, one of the other things I'd kind of like to point out and see Respawn Direct do here is very much BTHS's comp is great at skirmishes. These weird fights where it's 2 or 3 people in the jungle or in the river. But Respawn Direct's comp stands great when, you're in like a front to front, back-to-back 5v5 team fight. So I'd really like them to try and set up in a really, aggressive way or proactive way for one of these next objectives and go to try that back-to-back team fight where their comp is so strong.
Yeah, I really want to see, the Jarvan and Oriana play together with that, that ult combo, getting the Jarvan in there with as strong as he is. And we actually see Overtries picking up that, what is it called? The Grievous Wounds, the sword for Grievous Wounds. So yeah, Executioners. So thank you so much. Execution is coming out on the side of Respawn Direct on J4, who is one of their powerhouses right now. So it gives them the opportunity to take some of these fights. However, is it going to be enough? The J4 ultimate coming out. However, unfortunately, Aatrox just too big, huge Oriana ult, but just unfortunately, it's a little too late on that call. Was not able to coordinate, and that looks like a Baron call for the Engineers. It has all of their players up there, unfortunately, not able to connect. And, we didn't see the teleport coming in from Hot Smoke's Ghost. So it looks like that Baron is going to go down fairly quickly. Is Kiana going to get out? Yes, it does, with the health. And the Engineers successfully taking down 3 players of the Respawn Direct team, as well as picking up that coveted Baron buff. Really giving them an advantage for the push as we move forward.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough game from here on out. We'll see how much the Engineers get out of this Baron buff, but if they're pretty consistent in how they play from before, it's gonna be really rough to fight through this. I think one of the struggles of their team comp, of the Engineers team comp, is sieging and stuff like that, but Baron really helps to solve those problems. So Respawn is definitely gonna have to really try and set up a play or a really great angle for a team fight to find a way back into this game.
Yeah, and good flash on the side of Pop Smoke's Ghost to Respawn Direct there. He knew that he had to get out of there to be able to live, but however, Aatrox just too big, unfortunately taking him down as well. And it looks like Pantheon's clearing the vision. The entire Respawn Direct team, however, being topside right now, when Baron has been taken and, next objective is going to be Dragon. The ultimate comes up, however, from J4. Kiana able to get out of there. Is Neela still going to go in? What a play from Zanilia. A little bit too aggressive. He's going to get flashed on. Aatrox comes in just a little too aggressive, a little too greedy in that play, unfortunately. Flash comes out on J4. Really great exit on the side of Overtries, but they still have the Trundle to deal with. Awesome Saucy Boy just absolutely destroying that tower, like eating it alive. like quite literally just melting the tower through those club
That
attacks.
tower does not stand a chance to this Trundle right now. And really, Oriana's top side still just basing now. This mid turret is not long for the world, and the mid inhibitor is probably next as well. But they are actually backing off, even with 2 down, which, might be a little questionable, but they're getting their empowered recalls off, it seems. Or maybe, if we look at the map, are they going for the dragon? Are they setting up a bush play? It seems like they're just going for their third dragon. Okay, this makes sense. They didn't
And I
quite take the recalls and, extended their lead into pushing that dragon advantage.
Yeah, and also pushing their Baron buff advantage too, right? As we know that they got their Baron power play, they were able to get that bot lane inhibitor. They were able to get that tier 2 mid lane. They were able to get several kills and collapse on the Respawn Direct team. They are showing why they're the first seed in this tournament right now. That Aatrox is absolutely massive at 8-0, right? Trundle, the awesome saucy boy, commanding presence the entire game, still about 100 CS up on that Respawn Direct and top laner on Pop Smoke's Ghost as well. And across the board, we see most of it being in the favor of engineers. However, we still see a pretty significant lead from Respawn Direct in the bot lane, right? 50 CS up. We also see that 50 CS advantage on the side of Respawn Direct in the mid lane. So I'm not going to count them out yet. There's still a lot of games to be played as long as they're a little bit more cautious about that collapse, right? As long as they don't press that advantage, as long as they are a little bit more coordinated and calculated on what they're doing, right? Where Sona's walking up here, I wouldn't say that the poke is even necessary or the poke is warranted to walk up there. I would just back out.
Yeah.
Trundle is, look at that. Like the damage.
Trundle is a problem.
Trundle's a problem. Aatrox is a problem. Look at this. Aatrox is jumping in. Oriana ult comes out. Oriana
What a
dies.
play.
However, Overtries is down. Or Kilo is down. Thanelia is down. This probably spells the end of the game. We have all
Yes,
5
it does.
players of BTHS engineers pushing forward. Last man standing is Pop Smoke's Ghost. However, he does not have the wave clear or the damage to stop that. And BTHS will take the win.
Yeah, really a great win from them. I think they really got to convert it in the mid game. They did a lot of work to make sure that Aatrox stayed ahead once he got ahead. I think it was that first skirmish up in the top side jungle on the engineer's side that kind of propelled them there. I think Direct had overextended just a little bit, just chased for a little bit longer than they should have, and really that kind of, accelerated the Aatrox into a spot where they couldn't, necessarily compete with the Aatrox on the same level. And, maybe Grievous Wound should have been brought a little bit earlier than they had, but really a close game. And I think it was just some like small decision making in the mid and late game because the early game was really close.
Yeah, I honestly think it's just a matter of decision making, right? Really taking what you can during the time that you have it, paying attention to those death timers. When the death timer is up, you know that you gotta X out immediately as possible, right? Because they collected those 2 kills, and even was getting a third one at the time. But Aatrox was coming back in after being taken down beforehand, and not being able to account for the health differences when you have someone new and fresh coming into that mix, and not having the cooldowns, right? So you're
Yeah.
not able to stay in for that long while you're not that far ahead. And that's really, I think, the downfall of that, being able to accelerate that top lane, being able to accelerate that jungle out of the realm of containment, right? We had a great advantage in bot lane with the Neela Sona. I think Neela and Thanelia and Flops actually were very far ahead the entire game. In fact,
Yeah.
they were forcing out cooldowns on repeat every single time that they were up. Zoe's flash was down. Pantheon's flash was down. They weren't able to get anything out of that. However, that wasn't converted into anything, right? They didn't get the tower. They weren't able to push past that. And then with that, Pantheon was roaming, right? And
Hmm.
Pantheon was
Yep.
roaming, getting advantages in other sides of the map. He did a flash play up in the top side of the map, closer to Respawn Direct's blue buff. It wasn't able to really put that thing together. So I think that giving into that, I think, who would you say is the MVP of this game? I'm looking at the Trundle, the amount of pressure
The
that
Trundle.
awesome
Okay.
sauce boy. However, we also, it's really dependent on if it's the Trundle or if it's the Aatrox. Aatrox has a commanding presence the entire game, but I don't think he was able to do that without the amount of pressure that Trundle had.
I think that's true, but I felt like Aatrox got to, you know, Aatrox cleaned up a lot of the fights and like made sure and like put the stamp on their victory. I think the Trundle was pulling a lot of pressure and was like the reason a lot of the plays were happening, and even like the reason that Respawn Direct was so focused on playing for bot side because the matchup top lane is, very much a counter pick and pretty bad for them. But I really think without the Aatrox, some of those fights that are so close might have, gone Respawn Direct's way. So my vote is for the Aatrox.
All right, well, we'll bring Aatrox up then. Let's see. Let's get Aatrox in, and I'm gonna ask. I have to ask him how he pronounces his name as well because
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not able to get that, that down. But let's bring Liam up.
Yeah.
Okay, so Liam,
What's up?
what's going on? You are named the MVP of round two. Now I gotta ask because I'm not able to pronounce your in-game name. What is your in-game name?
Mazlippy. You can just call it that.
Okay,
No one
Mazliff.
can really
Mazlippy.
pronounce it.
I was gonna say there was an IL in there. I
Yeah,
was like,
and
that is a
no one
tongue
can really
twister for
pronounce
me.
it. That's just what people call it. So I'm just gonna call it that.
All right, well, Mazlippy, fantastic performance there. It was really a close tie, a close competition between you and Awesome Boy or Awesome Saucy Boy to see who was going to be MVP. The presence that Trundle had, the pressure that Trundle had, really allowed you and set you up for success. However, I don't think without your presence and without your authority in most of those fights, it would have gone your way, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Especially with the life steal and everything coming out and the
Yeah.
damage, the hubris first buy was absolutely amazing. I was like, oh man, this Aatrox was just going to do so much damage. So I'd like to hear from you a couple of things. Is there anything that you'd like to shout out for your team as well as like one thing that
Uh,
they did really, really well?
I think my entire team played really well. Like I heard in the stream, like that our bot lane was losing, but I think it's not really their fault. They just had a presence. I could gank them early, and that's kind of what snowballed like my lead. There was also that fight in our top jungle, but I think it was like a collaboration of our team that really led to our victory.
Absolutely. And it's a team game, right? You cannot win without all 5 of your team members participating. And I'm like, Pantheon did a fantastic job even cutting the losses in bot lane when they were behind, roaming up and helping make sure that your
Yeah.
your mid laner got out safe even after taking down the Orianna, right? When the J4 was there. And Pantheon roamed several times for different objectives and just making sure that you guys were set up the entire time. So I'm glad that you know that you're understanding that it's a team game for sure. Is there anybody specifically who you think stepped up though in a way that deserves recognition?
I think both my support and top lane played really well that game. My supports roams, especially top side, I think they really won. Like instead of just sitting bot lane, which some supports do, I think roaming really wins you the game. And just the pressure that Trundle had. I think you guys were saying it earlier, but you can't do anything if they have pressure top side. And I think that was the case for the enemy team this game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want you to describe, and I know we'll wrap this up quickly, but I want you to describe a moment also where something went wrong in the game and what you did either mentally or as a team to recover.
Uh, I don't have a death, so it's gonna give me a tiny bit to recall this.
Okay,
Uh,
brush the shoulders off a little.
yeah. Uh,
Do you think you missed maybe like an objective timer that you could have gotten a little bit earlier, or maybe a shift play to dive someone
I
that
think
maybe you missed the timing
I
on?
think there were some communication errors. Like there were obviously wasn't much, but I think some communication errors. Like we were saying someone was on a different side of the map, or we would say that like someone's cooldowns were down when they weren't. But I think it was very minuscule.
Awesome, awesome. Well, fantastic commanding round 2 win. Moving into the next stage, you're going up against another opponent. I mean, you guys are definitely the favorites here in the tournament. You guys have had a commanding lead in both of the games so far, going into the third one. So we'll look forward to see the next one.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Liam.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. We are going to be taking another 10-minute break as we're setting up for the third round. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us and all everybody who's contributing to the chat. Please, if you see something hype, if you see an awesome play, clip it. If you see something that really deserves some recognition, clip it. Make sure that these people people are celebrated, as I was telling you guys before. We all want to celebrate them and for the time and energy that they put into this. I know Detention was talking about it in the beginning, but this game is one of the most intricate, information laden games, and it takes so long to get to the stage that some of these players are at. And so we really want to celebrate them, and we wanted to acknowledge the time and energy that it takes to not just do it individually, but also to be a team and collectively synergize and work together collaboratively on everything that they're doing. So I want to give a big round of applause for all of our participants and definitely cheer them on as we're going through the games, whether you're cheering for that team specifically or not, whether you're here representing that team specifically or not. Every one of them has the courage to get up here today and participate. So thank you guys so much for being with us. We'll be back in 10 minutes for the next game.